A new women's basketball coach is getting ready to make her debut on North Broad. This after previously being employed in the business industry. Max Green and I'll have the story of Diane Richardson and the career change that brought her to Temple.
Temple football tries to shake off its trip to Florida with a primetime home matchup against Tulsa this Friday. We'll preview it. Plus, some soccer, volleyball, crew, and a power play. OwlSports Update is live and it starts right now. Hello and welcome to another edition of OwlSports Update. He's Matt Rineer and I'm Erik Jesberger. We've got a packed show for you here today after a loaded weekend of Temple Athletics. The Temple football team traveled south to take on the UCF Golden Knights, but before we get to that, let's not dwell on the past. Let's be forward-thinking to the Golden Hurricane. The Golden Hurricane will be an interesting matchup for the Owls. Tulsa started its season at 2-1 with victories over Northern Illinois and Jackson State. That win over JSU was a big win for Tulsa, as the Gamecocks came into it undefeated at the time. However, since then, Tulsa has lost 3 straight to Ole Miss, Cincinnati, and last week's loss to Navy, a game in which the Midshipmen dropped 51 points in this 3-game stretch. The Golden Hurricanes' opponents have averaged 39 points per game in this stretch. Tulsa has been struggling as of late, but that doesn't mean it'll be an easy opponent for Temple. Temple hasn't won a conference game yet this season, and Tulsa's offense is averaging over 400 yards per game with that run-pass option, a.k.a. the RPO game.
Just that, the quarterback is very, very good at the RPO game. Very good. He's dynamic, and those receivers are veteran guys that have been there for a while, and they know they're very well timed up with the quarterback for sure. They know exactly where the ball is going to be placed. They read through the defense very well, and in their RPO game, those receivers know when they're getting the football as opposed to the quarterback giving the ball. So they are in the right spots at all times. They do a good job of throwing and catching with timing, which gives those receivers an opportunity to catch the ball in space and run with it from time to time. So that's a challenge for us. It's going to be a challenge for us this week based upon how we're built on defense, is being able to stop the RPO game for sure.
With the single digit.
Friday will be the first night game for Temple played at the Link in over a year. It should be an interesting matchup as both teams are 2-4 on the season and are each coming off of 30-plus point losses. Now that we're a couple weeks into conference play, we're starting to get a look at how the standings are shaping up, with Tulane on top, followed by Cincinnati and UCF at 2-0. A bunch of teams currently sitting at 500, all within striking distance. Temple, meanwhile, finds itself all the way down at the bottom among the winless teams. No matter how Week 7 goes, it can't be worse than Week 6 in Temple's trip to Orlando. The Owls went down to the Sunshine State to take on UCF, and there was really no silver lining in this one. Temple opened up the scoring with a first drive field goal. However, UCF responded with the game's first touchdown. Their quarterback John Rice Plumlee rushing in for his first of 7 touchdowns on the game, but Temple came right back. E.J. Warner to Jose Barbone for the first touchdown on the road for Temple this season. The Knights came right back and took command of the game from here on out. Isaiah Bowser punching into the end zone for the first of 3 straight UCF touchdowns in the second quarter. It was a 25 touchdown yard reception for the Knights, capped off by another rushing touchdown, a 35-14 lead at half for the Golden Knights.
Game, like in practice, what we do in the game, but players like us, me, certain other players, everybody just messed up. Everybody had MAs, and we just gotta fix that in practice.
Yeah, in the beginning we were trading scores here and there, but once that momentum shifted toward them, we have to reset our jaw, lock back in, correct our issues so that we stay on the field, so that they're not on the field and they can get some rest, so that when they come back on the field, they're fresh and ready to go.
But no one was ready for the second half for Temple either. Plumlee finds Kobe Hudson wide open over the middle. He takes it 64 yards for the score. Fourth quarter is now underway. The Owls are going to need a stop, but they don't get it. UCF's Tom Castellanos would run up the right side into the open field, shedding tackles as he ran to the end zone for another touchdown. And finally, we have one more late fourth quarter touchdown. UCF punched it in one more time with a 1-yard run by Jordan McDonald. The final from Orlando, UCF 70, Temple 13.
One of the main factors for the Owls' rough start to conference play has been their play in the second half. The Owls have been outscored 59-0 in the second half of their last two matchups, and a 94-16 overall in their games against UCF and Memphis. Of course, that means giving up a ton of yards.
Now, I don't know if my head is still spinning from Temple's loss to UCF, but I think I'm starting to see double Jesbergers. I've got Erik to my right, and wait a minute, nope. It's just OwlSports Update's very own Jake Jesberger to my left. No relation, by the way. Jake, thank you so much for coming on to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Now, Jake, on Thursday, was there any moment that gave you any optimism for this team's future?
So I think we all know that the game had few positives, but I really enjoyed Stan Drayton's press conference on Monday. He came into the week with accountability and a positive attitude, and I think that's hard to do after a blowout loss like we just saw. Drayton knows that this team needs time to grow, and I respect he's not hiding behind his players.
Now, Jake, we touched on it there moments ago. We brought up the numbers of the poor play for the Owls in the second half. Any prominent change you've seen at halftime for Temple in the recent games?
Yeah, I think there's been a lot of missed tackles in the secondary. Leighton Jordan and Jordan McGee, who both have had a great season so far, have had an off game against UCF. And when it comes to conference play, you need both of these guys to be on their normal game if they want to win.
Now, Jake, how can the Owls bounce back in their matchup against Tulsa tomorrow night?
If they improve their play on third down, I think they have a good chance of bouncing back Friday night. So far this season, only 29% of Temple's third downs resulted in a 1st and 10, and that makes them 125th in the nation in third down conversion rate. Temple needs to find a way to keep their defense rested and off the field if they want to win this game.
Jake, appreciate the insight, and thank you so much for joining us on the show. Great to see and great to know. And there's room for two Jesbergers at the desk.
Always.
It's time for our first break of the show, but coming up, the women's soccer team had a matchup against the Memphis Tigers this past Sunday. The Owls are still looking for that first conference win of the season. OwlSports Update will be back in 90 seconds.
Welcome back to OwlSports Update. Temple men's soccer hosting Stony Brook, seeking its second win in 7 matches. 14 seconds into this one, and 5th-year midfielder Fabian Grant delivers the game's opening goal, the fastest goal Temple has scored since 2017. Now to the 26th minute, the Owls add an insurance goal off the right foot of Sawyer Koza, good for the freshman's 3rd goal of the season. Temple goalie Owen Goronsky had 3 saves and some help here from the crossbar. The shutout remained intact for Temple's 2-0 victory over the Seawolves, Goronsky's 2nd straight shutout and 3rd of the season. Men's soccer earned back-to-back wins ahead of its Saturday night matchup against nationally ranked Tulsa. OwlSports Update's Kylie O'Connor is at the Temple Sports Complex for a review of the team's approach at the end of regular season. Hey, Kylie.
Hey guys, the Temple men's soccer team has struggled so far this season, resulting in a 4-7-2 record. The Owls first started the season going 2-2-2, but they lost 5 of their last 7 games. Temple's offense has only scored 2 or more goals 3 times this season, and this lack of offense has kept the team from putting together any type of winning streak. But there is some good news along with the win against Stony Brook on Tuesday, and there's also one standout player so far, being Sean Cariani. He has 3 goals and 3 assists so far on the season, and he also has the 2nd most shots on net. With only 3 games to go on the season, Temple still has opportunity for success against some good teams. It starts with Tulsa on Saturday at the Temple Sports Complex. The Golden Hurricane is 7-2-2 this season and ranked 24th. And there is a 13th ranked Charlotte that they play at the end of the year as well. Reporting from Temple Sports Complex, I'm Kylie O'Connor. Matt and Erik, back to you in the studio.
Thanks, Kylie. Now let's take a look at the women's team versus the Memphis Tigers this past Sunday. Early on in this contest, it was a defensive struggle for both teams. This kick, a nice save by Kyla Burns to keep the Tigers out of the net, but Memphis does not let up the attack. This strike bounces off the crossbar before Maya Jones heads it in to get the Tigers on the board. Great job there by Burns. Now, Kyla Burns, she had a work cut out for her in this matchup, and it shows she leaping over everyone to tap it out of bounds to keep the corner kick out of the net. However, moments later, Memphis pulls away later on in the second half with this goal by Haley Spray to ice the game for Memphis. The final score from the Temple Sports Complex, Memphis 2, Temple nothing. For most freshman student athletes, the transition from high school to college can be a difficult one. The balance between coursework, games, and travel can be a lot for one person. But it just might be easier when you have a lifelong friend to lean on, especially with a friend with the same last name and with the same genes. 2,500 miles from their home in Las Vegas to Philly, but at least they're doing it together. Number 16, Ariana Parker, and number 14, Brianna Parker, are freshman soccer players at Temple, and they're identical twins, continuing their journey together that started 18 years ago.
She's just like my support system. She's like my everything, my world. It kind of helped in the feeling of homesickness just because it felt like I was bringing a piece of home with me.
With Ariana in front and Brianna as a defender, Ariana holds a starting position, while Brianna supports her sister from the sideline. Although one is getting more playing time than the other, it was quite an easy decision for them to choose Temple.
We came here, we loved Nick, we loved Claire, and it just felt like home. We looked at each other and were like, this is where we want to be. These sisters have supported each other each step of the way in their journey to Temple, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's all been sisterly love, as both are constantly competing with each other to improve themselves on the field, as this isn't the first set of twins that head coach Nick Boucher has coached here at Temple.
Some are really at each other competitively. Some are the opposite and just totally supportive and don't really want to compete with one another. And these two have a really healthy mix of the two.
Nevada, number 16, Ariana Parker.
When I get on the field or when she gets on the field, like we talk about it all the time. I think that we motivate each other. I think we make each other better.
This friendly competition between these sisters has played a big role in Ariana joining the starting lineup so early. And this is something that will continue to motivate Brianna as she works to reach the same level of playing time as her sister. Temple was quick to notice these two sets of twins out of high school. In their senior year, Ariana was given first-team All-Mountain League honors, and Brianna was named to the Nevada Preps All-Southern Girls second team.
And on OwlSports Updates, Max Green at the Leah Kors Center. And I've got the story of former CEO and current Temple women's basketball coach Diane Richardson, and it's coming up on the other side of the break. OwlSports Update will be back in just 90 seconds.
Welcome back to OwlSports Update. The women's basketball season is quickly approaching, and there's a new boss on Broad. OwlSports Update's Max Green joins us from the Leah Kors Center, where he has more on the new coach of the women's basketball team. Hey, Max.
Hey guys, Richardson made the change to a coaching career in basketball. Now after stops at Maryland and Towson, she's ready to turn Temple's program around.
She falls to the ground. Owls keep it close.
Temple women's basketball is in a year of transition following the departures of the program's all-time leading scorer, Mia Davis, and the program's all-time winningest coach, Antonia Cardoza. With this turnover, Temple found a new leader with head coaching experience. Diane Richardson is about to start her first season after 5 years as the leader of Towson.
And like we say that every day in the huddle, like we're going to win a championship. We're going to have like a winning season.
Richardson is used to change, not only jobs, but careers. Back in the 1990s, Richardson was the chief operating officer of American Security Corporation.
I should say runs her program like she's a CEO.
Richardson enjoyed her work in business, but after taking a part-time job as a high school basketball coach, she found success not only in wins and losses, but also getting players scholarships.
You know, I talked to my husband and I said, honey, I'm really changing some lives a little bit, and it makes me feel good. My husband said, well, if that's what you want to do, then okay, you've got my support. And so I stepped into it full time.
With the experience of a real-life career transition, this gives Coach Richardson the leg up on many of the coaches in women's college basketball. Now as the women's basketball team transitions into their new home at Leah Kors Center, Coach Richardson will help by bringing her style of high-energy basketball.
Expect to be entertained, to have fun at games, you know, like we like to celebrate each other.
Richardson was 80 and 66 at Towson with 2 NCAA tournament appearances. The women's basketball team begins their season on the road at Princeton on November 7th. 5 days later, the Owls will be right here for their home opener versus Georgetown. Reporting live from the Liacouras Center, I'm Max Green. Matt and Eric, back to you guys in the studio.
Thanks, Max. Coach Richardson may be in a new environment, but she'll have some familiar faces with her. 3 of her former players at Towson are joining her on North Broad. Headlining this trio is senior guard Aaliyah Nelson. Nelson's coming off an impressive season, averaging 15.4 points per game. There's also defensive specialist Rain Tucker, who averaged 5.4 rebounds last season. In addition to these two, Tyranna Gray is reuniting with Richardson as well. Gray led Towson in three-point percentage, hitting over 35% of her shots from beyond the arc. From the courts to the rivers, to check out the crew team from the perspective of the person in charge of making sure every rower works as one. OwlSports Update's Jesse Dimich-Louvet is live at the studio set. Hey, Jesse.
Hey, Matt. Hunter Metnick is the coxswain of the Temple Varsity 8 and plays a fundamental role on the crew team. Though, unlike his teammates from all over the world, he doesn't have to break a sweat while doing his job. Still, his job is far from easy. Every boating collegiate crew has one person who isn't rowing, but is key to the boat's success. That's the coxswain. For the men's varsity 8 at Temple, that's Hunter Metnick.
Basically, my freshman year of high school, my gym teacher told me that I was small and loud and said you'd be an awesome coxswain.
300 meters remaining, boys. Sit up tall.
Small and loud, the two most important traits for any leader in rowing. At a required max of 125 pounds, Metnick commands 6-foot giants.
Really gets the guys riled up and going during pieces, which is really useful.
And we'll take one more.
The day is long for a coxswain and for the rowers.
We're set for 5:15 every single morning. We're on the water at 6, off the water at around 8. For naps than a normal person or than a non-rower.
For Hunter, it's all about getting his boat in front of the other.
When it comes to coxswain, you have to tell yourself and let your guys know that you are confident that you're going to get your boat ahead of that other boat. And with that confidence, you can do anything.
Eyes closed. Communication is key to coxswain. For Coach Perkins, it comes down to the essential 4.
4 most important things a coxswain can do is steer straight, execute the coach's commands on the water and off, steer straight, and steer straight. Those are the 4 most important things. So in the fall, it really is the coxswain's time to shine.
Fall racing means navigating 5 kilometers on curvy rivers through multiple bridges.
These are coxswain races, that's kind of what they call them. The rowers can pull all they want, but if I make one bad turn and let the boat get the inside turn for a really long one, we lose the whole race no matter how hard my guys are pulling.
This weekend at the head of the Charles, Metnick is looking to improve on last year's 4th place finish as the leader of the Varsity 8.
1, 2, 1, 2.
Metnick's boat picked up a gold medal in the Varsity 4 against Navy on Sunday. But this weekend, Coach Perkins said it will all come down to which coxswain finds the best line at the head of the Charles. Metnick said the team did too much losing last year, and the Owls are determined to change that moving forward. Reporting from the studio set, I'm Jesse Dimich-Louvet. Guys, back to you.
Thanks, Jesse. It's the heart of the crew team season as the Owls will go up to Boston this weekend for the Head of the Charles, which is one of the best-known events in the country. The team then returns home next weekend for the Head of the Schuylkill. Temple will then have a scrimmage the following weekend called the Head of the Flordia to wrap up its fall season. The Owls will be back for the annual Ergathon on December 5th at the Pavilion.
Now we've covered football, 2 soccer teams, and crew, but now let's shift gears to highlight 2 players of 2 teams that we haven't talked about here today. It's time for the power play.
Matt, my power play pick this week is volleyball's Taylor Davenport. The sophomore had her 7th 20 or more kill performance in the Owls' 5-set victory over USF. These 20-plus kill performances are becoming a standard for this young star on the volleyball team, and she's going to look for similar play this weekend when the Owls host Memphis and SMU over at McGonigal Hall.
Now, I'm going to highlight soccer, specifically Temple women's soccer goalie Kyla Burns. She was an absolute wall in net for the Owls this past Sunday, facing 20 shots and coming up with 9 saves. 20 shots in one game and only allowing 2 goals in that game. That is an impressive feat. Especially because she was making every kind of save you can imagine. Saving with her leg, diving onto the ball, even leaping over defenders and attackers just to keep it out of the net. Keep in mind, Temple offense, they only had 1 shot this entire game. She single-handedly kept them in this game until the final buzzer.
Matt, both sides of the ball getting some love this week. Love that power play pick from women's soccer. We're heading into our final break of the show, but don't go anywhere. We'll be looking ahead at some exciting weekend matchups.
Plus, an international tennis star is settling in here on North Broad. OwlSports Update will be back in 90 seconds.
Welcome back. Now time to recap a busy weekend. On the left, women's volleyball lost one match to 24th-ranked UCF 3-0 on Friday, but did take another match from USF 3-2 on Sunday. Now to the right, the field hockey team split this past weekend. First, the Owls struggled, losing to 16th-ranked Liberty on Friday, 1-0. Temple has played two nationally ranked teams this season and lost both by the score of 1-0. But the Owls did bounce back on Sunday, beating Brown 3-1, your final score. To finish off the weekend, let's take a look at the middle with a meet at Penn State. Men's cross country finished 6th out of 14 teams. Women's cross country placed 16th out of 18 competing teams in the Penn State Invitational. Laura Nicholson led the Owls with a 28th place finish in what was the final regular season race of the year for both teams. Both teams are off to the conference meet later this month. The Temple men's fall tennis season is underway. A team with aspirations of cracking the top 75, the Owls are aligned for an exciting season ahead. One player in particular has had a long journey all the way from Egypt to North Broad. OwlSports Update's Danny Podolsky has more.
Collegiate tennis is a sport that is largely dominated by international talent. Temple Tennis is no exception. All 8 of its players this season are from outside the United States. One player in particular has come all the way from Egypt as he heads into this season, sophomore Hussein el Tawil.
It's very different being at Temple than at home, like it's a different culture.
However, being far from home is nothing new for Hussein, who at the age of 13 moved to France, where he played at Morteglou Academy, one of the most prestigious tennis academies in the world.
Yeah, obviously the coaching style is very different. Morteglou, the place I went to, is one of the best academies in the world.
From there, El Tawil headed back to Egypt, where he was ranked as one of the best in the country in the International Tennis Federation. However, Hussein now prefers the team aspect of playing for the Temple Owls.
It's more of a team sport, and in the ITF, you're alone out there.
He's loud, he's vocal. Tennis play, usually we're playing in a straight line of 6 courts, so they feed off each other, the energy.
Hussein el Tawil has climbed the ladder quickly. Initially coming off the bench as a freshman, he's earned his way into the starting lineup, where he currently sees himself as the team's 5th singles player.
And I think, his potential is unlimited because he has such a big game with a small frame. And
I'm hoping to help my team as much as possible to be ranked this season, hopefully top 75.
El Tawil and the Owls wrap up their fall off-season at Drexel on October 30th. Reporting for OwlSports Update, I'm Danny Podolsky.
Now we're the best place to keep up to date, starting with the sports brief every Monday, Inside the Nest on Tuesdays with Luke Milai and Emily Cochran, and OwlSports Update returns on Thursday with Brielle Berry and AJ Patel.
That will wrap up our show for today. 24 events are on the dock for Temple Athletics between now and Sunday. Plenty of action to check out on North Broad.
For the entire OwlSports Update crew, he's Erik Jesberger. I'm Rineer. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great weekend, everyone.